I remember the day everything changed like it was yesterday. I was only 10 years old, sitting at the kitchen table when Mom and Dad sat down with serious faces. I had never seen them look like that before. Dad reached for my hand, his own shaking a little. "Helen, sweetheart," he said in a quiet voice. "I need to tell you something important. That was the day we found out about the cancer." I didn't fully understand what it meant, but I knew our lives were about to change. For the next 3 years, our home was always full of doctors, family, and visitors. I watched my dad, who used to be so strong, grow weaker each day. Mom tried to act like everything was normal, but nothing was normal anymore. She forced smiles during the day, but at night, I could hear her crying in their bedroom. I wanted to go in and comfort her, but I didn't know what to say. When Dad passed away, I was 12. The funeral was a blur. Black clothes, quiet voices, and people whispering. Mom held my hand so tightly that it hurt, but I didn't mind. I thought we would get through it together. But I was wrong. A week after the funeral, Mom sat me down again. This time, it was just the two of us. "Helen, I've been talking to your grandmother," she said, not looking me in the eye. "I think it would be best if you stayed with her for a little while just until I can figure things out." "But why can't I stay with you?" asked in a small voice. "I need some time alone, honey. I need to process everything and figure out what to do next." She tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, but it didn't feel the same as before. "It will only be for a few months." The next day, Grandma Victoria, Dad's mom, came to pick me up. She didn't say much on the drive, but I could see her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. When we reached her small one-story house, she helped me carry my bags to the guest room. For the next few months, Mom would call me every few weeks. Our conversations were always the same. "When can I come home, Mom?" "Just be patient, sweetie. A little longer." "But I miss you." "I miss you too, but this is better for now. You understand, right?" I didn't understand, and neither did Grandma. She never said it out loud, but I could tell. Whenever Mom called, Grandma would press her lips together and start making noise in the kitchen, banging pots and pans louder than she needed to. Still, Grandma made sure I never felt unwanted. She cooked my favorite meals, helped me with my homework, and told me stories about Dad when he was little. But no matter how nice it was at Grandma's, it wasn't home. I kept waiting for Mom to come back, to want me again. After 7 months at Grandma's, Mom finally came. I was doing homework at the kitchen table when I heard a car outside. Looking through the window, I saw Mom step out of a blue car I didn't recognize. A man I had never seen before stayed in the driver's seat. "Helen." Mom burst through the door, more excited than I had seen her since Dad died. Her hair was styled, her makeup was fresh, and she was wearing a new dress. "I have wonderful news." Grandma walked in from the living room, crossing her arms. "Diane, this is unexpected. Helen, I want you to meet someone special." Mom was practically bouncing. "He's waiting in the car. He's a little shy, but..." She grabbed my hands. "Helen, honey, I'm getting married." I blinked at her. "His name is Austin, and he's absolutely wonderful. He's a successful businessman, and he has 3 daughters about your age. You'll have sisters. Isn't that exciting?" I looked at Grandma. Her face was frozen, unreadable. "Diane," Grandma said carefully, "don't you think this is a bit sudden?" "Oh, Victoria, when you meet him, you'll understand. He's perfect for us. Helen, he's going to be such a great stepfather to you." His daughters, Kelly and Evelyn, are 9 and 10. Their mother passed away 4 years ago, and Austin has raised them alone. We're going to be one big, happy family. I glanced out the window at the man in the car. He was staring straight ahead, not even looking at the house. "Come on, Helen," Mom said, already gathering my things. "Let's go home. The girls are waiting to meet you." The car ride was filled with Mom talking about Austin, the wedding, and how perfect everything would be. When we pulled up to our house, the one she and Dad had bought together, 3 girls were sitting on the front steps. They looked like matching dolls with their blonde hair and pink dresses. "Girls," Mom called, waving. "Come meet Helen." I stepped forward, trying to smile. "Hi, We know who you are," the taller girl, Kelly, interrupted. Her voice was sweet. but her eyes were cold. Our dad told us all about you. Yeah, Evelyn, the younger one, added. But just so you know, he's not going to be your dad. He's our dad. And your mom is going to be our new mom, Kelly said with a fake smile. We're going to be one big, happy family. Right, Diane? Of course, sweetie, Mom said, smiling, not noticing the tension. For months later, I stood in front of a mirror, wearing a plain blue dress. Kelly and Evelyn spun around in matching pink bridesmaid gowns, giggling. The wedding was about to start, but I could still hear their screams from earlier. We won't wear the same dress as her, they had shouted when Mom suggested we match. She's not even really part of the family. In the official wedding photos, I was barely visible. Kelly and Evelyn had made sure to stand in front of me, blocking me out. Looking at those pictures later, I realized this wasn't the happy family Mom had promised. Life in our new home quickly became routine. Austin wasn't mean, but he acted like I wasn't there. Every evening, he'd come home, hug Kelly and Evelyn, kiss Mom, and walk right past me like I was invisible. Mom, eager to please her new husband, gave all her attention to his daughters. She barely noticed me. That first Christmas after the wedding, I finally understood my place. Kelly and Evelyn got new iPads and fancy clothes. I got a basic phone and some sweaters from a discount store. Thank God for Grandma Victoria. She never forgot me. On my 14th birthday, she gave me a beautiful silver locket with Dad's picture inside. At dinner, Kelly noticed it around my neck. Her eyes lit up. That's so pretty.
You should share it with me.
That's what sisters do. When I refused, I found the chain mysteriously broken the next day. Another time, Grandma sent me a special set of art supplies because I loved drawing, just like Dad did. A week later, I found my sketchbook soaked in water and my expensive pencils snapped in half. When I confronted Evelyn, she just smiled.
Prove it was me, she said sweetly.
Mom never even noticed. I tried showing Mom the ruined art supplies. Look what they did, I said, holding up my damaged sketchbook and broken pencils. Mom sighed. Helen, stop being so dramatic. You probably left them out in the rain yourself. Stop blaming your sisters for everything. I knew she wouldn't believe me. Then, when I turned 16, Mom dropped another big surprise. She was pregnant. The whole house filled with excitement. Everyone was happy, except me. Austin's daughters squealed about having a baby brother or sister, but I stayed quiet. I already knew what this meant. When the baby, a boy named Brian, was born in the spring, things only got worse. For weeks after Mom came home from the hospital, they called a family meeting in the living room. Mom shifted uncomfortably. Now that Brian is here, we need to make some changes to the sleeping arrangements. Austin cleared his throat. We think it would be best if you moved in with Kelly and Evelyn. Brian needs his own room. No, the words slipped out before I could stop it. I'm not sharing a room with them. This is my room. This is my father's house. The room went silent. What did you just say? Mom whispered. I took a deep breath. Dad bought this house.
He paid for it.
You and your daughters moved in, and now you want to take my room away? Austin's face turned red. Kelly and Evelyn stared at me, for once completely silent. Mom's voice shook. How can you be so selfish after everything we've done for you? Tears filled her eyes. Austin has been nothing but good to you, and this is how you treat us. Good to me? I let out a small laugh, but there was no humor in it. He doesn't even look at me. After that, the house felt more like a prison. Nobody spoke to me at meals. Mom and Austin acted like I wasn't there. Even Kelly and Evelyn didn't bother teasing me anymore. They just ignored me. The silence was worse than their insults. After 4 days of this, I couldn't take it anymore. I picked up my phone and called the one person who had never let me down. When Grandma's car pulled into the driveway, I saw Mom and Austin watching from the kitchen window as I walked outside. I walked out with my backpack. They didn't try to stop me. If anything, they looked relieved. Living with Grandma felt like finally being able to breathe after years of holding my breath. We quickly fell into a routine, having breakfast together every morning, doing my homework at the kitchen table while she baked, and having long talks about Dad and what he was like when he was my age. 3 months passed quickly. Then one morning, Grandma sat me down, her face serious. "Helen, I need to tell you something," she said, taking my hands. "I've been talking to your mother. She's willing to give up her parental rights. And I want to adopt you. Officially." I stared at her, hardly believing what I was hearing. "Really?" "Really," she nodded. "It's your choice, of course, but I want you to know that this has always been your home. And I would be honored to be your legal guardian." Tears filled my eyes as I hugged her.
Yes. Please, yes.
The legal process was easier than I expected. Mom signed the papers without hesitation. The only thing left was to get the rest of my belongings from the house. When I went back, no one was home. All my things were packed in dusty boxes in the garage. My old room had been turned into a nursery for Brian, painted blue with clouds on the ceiling. I loaded my boxes into Grandma's car, without saying goodbye. They hadn't bothered to say goodbye to me, after all. High school was different after that. Kelly and Evelyn still went to the same school, but we lived in separate worlds. We passed each other in the hallways without a glance, like strangers. Sometimes, I'd hear them laughing with their friends, talking about family vacations or weekend plans. But it felt like listening to a radio playing in another room, distant, disconnected, not part of my life anymore. I threw myself into my studies, determined to make something of myself. Grandma supported me every step of the way, helping with college applications and encouraging me to aim high. The day my acceptance letter arrived from State University, along with a partial scholarship, Grandma was more excited than I had ever seen her. That evening, she sat me down and said, "I have something to tell you. I've been saving for your college fund since the day your father died. I wanted to make sure you had options." The amount she had saved left me speechless. With the scholarship covering most of my tuition, we decided together to save most of the money for my future. I knew I would need the money one day for grad school or maybe to start my own life after college. Those first few years of college changed me. I called Grandma every Monday, visited during the holidays, and finally felt like I was building my own future. My mother, Austin, and their perfect little family became distant memories, like characters in a book I had read long ago. Then, during my last semester of senior year, I got the call. "Helen." Grandma's voice was weaker than I had ever heard it. "The doctors found something." After that, I went home every weekend. Each time, Grandma looked a little frilier, a little more tired. But she never lost her spirit. "Don't you dare skip any classes for me," she'd insist, even as the hospital machines beeped around her. "I didn't save all that money for your education, just for you to play nurse to an old woman." When graduation day came, Grandma was too weak to attend. The nurses helped prop her up in her hospital bed, and we set up her smartphone so she could watch the live stream. As I walked across the stage to get my diploma, I looked straight into the camera and blew her a kiss. Later, she told me she cried through the whole ceremony. After graduation, I went straight to the hospital. For the next week, I barely left her side. We talked about everything and nothing. Memories of Dad, stories from her childhood, and her hopes for my future. Then, one quiet morning, as I held her hand, she slipped away peacefully in her sleep. Planning the funeral didn't feel real. I was picking out flowers and making arrangements in the same house where Grandma and I had shared breakfast just weeks before. Then, on the day of the service, I saw them. My mother, Austin, Kelly, Evelyn, and a young boy I barely recognized as my half-brother, Brian, walked into the funeral home. 8 years had changed them. Kelly and Evelyn were now grown women, and Brian, who I had last seen as a baby, was now a grade schooler in a small black suit. The ceremony passed in a blur. I stood alone by the casket, accepting condolences from distant relatives and Grandma's friends. Then, suddenly, Mom was in front of me. "Helen," she said softly, her eyes red from crying. "I'm so sorry for your loss." Victoria, she was a wonderful woman. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Mom twisted her hands nervously.
"Listen," she said.
"I know it's been a long time, but would you come to dinner with us? All of us? We want to try to make things right." I looked at her face, now lined with age and sadness. There were so many things we had never said to each other. "I'll think about it," I finally replied. A week later, after meeting with Grandma's lawyer, I learned she had left me everything. The house, her savings, all of it. That's when I made my decision. Maybe it was time to face the past. When I arrived at the house I had grown up in, it looked smaller than I remembered. The paint was faded, the garden overgrown. Inside, Austin, Kelly, Evelyn, and Brian were sitting at the dining room table, waiting. The silence was awkward, broken only by the sound of silverware clinking against plates. "So," Mom said, forcing a bright tone into her voice, "what are your plans now that you've graduated?" I took a slow sip of water before answering. "I'm staying in town, actually. I'm going to live in Grandma's house." For a moment, I saw a flicker of satisfaction in Mom's eyes, so quick I almost missed it. Something about that look made me uneasy, though I wasn't sure why. My degree in business administration got me a job as a junior executive at Logan and Associates. The salary was more than I ever imagined making straight out of college. And since I didn't have to pay rent, thanks to Grandma's house, I was able to save a lot of my income. Mom started dropping by often, sometimes with fresh-baked cookies, sometimes with a casserole. At first, our conversations felt awkward, filled with long pauses and careful words. But over time, she began opening up. "The heating bill was so high this month," she'd sigh. "Brian's growing so fast. He needs new shoes again." The first time I offered to help, it was almost automatic. Mom had been talking about a leaky faucet they couldn't afford to fix. "I have some extra cash," I said, pulling out $300. "Here, get it fixed." The way her face lit up made something warm stir in my chest. After that, it became normal, small amounts here and there for whatever problem they had that week. Then, to my surprise, Kelly and Evelyn started coming around too. They told me about their jobs. Kelly worked as a receptionist, Evelyn in retail, and how hard it was to make ends meet. It felt strange hearing them talk without their usual attitude. When Mom mentioned that Brian needed a laptop for school, I didn't even hesitate. The smile on his face when I gave it to him made all the past feel distant and unimportant. "You're the best big sister ever," he said, hugging me. It was our first real hug. The real breakthrough came when I had a business trip to Albany. Kelly and Evelyn asked if they could come along. At first, I wasn't sure about taking Kelly and Evelyn to Albany, but their excitement was contagious. "We've never been anywhere," Evelyn admitted. "Dad always said we couldn't afford it." I booked them economy tickets and found a decent hotel in Hartford. Watching them experience the city for the first time felt like seeing it through new eyes. They took pictures of everything, gasped at the tall buildings, and couldn't stop talking about how amazing it all was. During dinner at a small French restaurant in Lower Manhattan, Kelly raised her glass.
"To family," she said.
For the first time, that word didn't feel wrong. When we got home, our regular dinners became a tradition. Mom, Kelly, and Evelyn always chose budget-friendly restaurants and never ordered anything expensive. They seemed truly thankful for everything, no matter how small. Then one Thursday afternoon, Mom called me while I was at work. "Hi, sweetie," she said warmly. "How are you doing?" We talked about everyday things, Brian's school, Kelly's new haircut, family gossip. Just as we were about to say goodbye, she added, "Oh, by the way, honey, I hate to ask, but could you send me $300? The car needs some minor repairs." "Sure, Mom. I'll send it right now." "You're an angel, Helen. I love you so much." I was about to hang up when I realized the call hadn't ended. I heard rustling on the other end, then voices growing clearer. Mom must have thought she had pressed the end button. Did she fall for it? That was Kelly's voice, followed by a sharp, mocking laugh I hadn't heard since high school. "Of course she did," Mom said, her voice sounding completely different, cold, full of disgust. "She always does. Little Miss successful with her fancy job and her inherited house. God, I'm so tired of pretending to like her." Evelyn groaned. "Did you see what she was wearing at dinner last week? That awful blazer? She thinks she's better than us just because she went to college." They all laughed. Mom, Kelly, Evelyn. Then, I heard Austin's voice join in. "You're doing great, honey," he told Mom. "Keep it small for now. We don't want to scare her off." I know, Mom replied. "We have to be smart." Small amounts here and there. Build her trust. Once she completely lets her guard down, then we can start asking for more. She's loaded now with the house, the savings, her salary. We just need to make sure she spends it on us instead of herself. It's not fair, Kelly whined. Why should she have all that money? We deserve it more than she does. Of course you do, sweetheart, Mom said. You and Evelyn are twice the daughters she ever was. Don't worry, we'll get what's ours. She's too stupid to see what's really going on. Always was, just like her father. I ended the call with a single tap, but their laughter kept ringing in my ears. The family I thought I had finally found had never been real. It was all just an act, and I had been playing the fool, giving them everything while they took advantage of me. The next morning, Mom's number popped up on my phone. Helen, honey, she said sweetly, we're having a special family dinner tonight. You'll come, won't you? I could hear the fake warmth in her voice now, the careful way she spoke. Before, I had been too desperate to notice it. Sure, Mom, I said. What time? 7 o'clock. Everyone will be there. When I arrived at the house, they were all waiting. Mom had made my favorite lasagna. Kelly and Evelyn were dressed up, playing their parts perfectly. Even Brian seemed extra affectionate, probably coached to be on his best behavior. Helen. Mom rushed to hug me. You look tired, sweetie. Work keeping you busy? I hugged her back, but it felt empty. I noticed the quick glances she exchanged with Austin. Throughout dinner, they kept up the act, asking about my job, laughing at each other's jokes, pretending to be the perfect family. But this time, I saw it for what it was. A performance. Every smile was fake. Every word was planned. Finally, as we finished dessert, Mom cleared her throat. Helen, honey, we actually wanted to talk to you about something important. She reached for Austin's hand, their usual move when they had something big to ask. The house, she continued. Well, we've had some problems. The foundation needs urgent repairs. We got some estimates, Austin added, trying to sound fatherly. It's going to cost about $15,000. Mom leaned forward, her eyes wide and hopeful. We hate to ask, but since you're doing so well, I smiled. Mom's face lit up, thinking she had won. No. The word hit the room like a stone dropped in still water.
What?
Mom's smile faded. I said no, I repeated. Not $15,000. Not $15. Not another cent. Kelly and Evelyn exchanged confused looks. Austin sat up straighter. But honey, Mom started, we really need. You forgot to hang up the phone yesterday, Mom. My voice was calm, almost casual. Her face went pale. Kelly and Evelyn froze. Even Brian, who probably didn't understand what was happening, stopped eating his cake. I heard everything. I continued. How tired you are of pretending to like me. How you've been playing me for money. How you think I'm stupid, just like my father. I turned to Kelly and Evelyn. And how you think you deserve my money more than I do. I do? We were just joking. Evelyn blurted out. It wasn't serious. Helen, sweetie. Mom reached for my hand. I pulled away. You're misunderstanding, she insisted. The only thing I misunderstood, I said, standing up from the table, was thinking you had changed. I looked at them. Mom, Austin, Kelly, and Evelyn. But you know what? I should thank you. You finally showed me who you really are. Now I can stop wasting my time trying to build a relationship with people who only see me as an ATM. I walked out of that house for the last time, ignoring their voices calling after me. But of course, they didn't give up easily. The calls started that same night. First Mom, then Austin, then Kelly and Evelyn. Voicemails. Texts. Emails. All begging for forgiveness, saying it was just a joke. That I was overreacting. When I blocked their numbers, they started showing up at my house, knocking on my door at all hours. I knew I needed a clean break. The next morning, I walked into my boss's office. Megan, remember when you mentioned expanding the Albany office? 3 weeks later, I had my transfer approval in hand. I listed Grandma's house with a realtor, and it sold fast. The market was good, and it was in a prime location. I found a beautiful apartment on Hartford's Long Island City. Big windows. A view of the park. The kind of place that would have made Grandma smile. Sometimes on quiet evenings I think about them, Mom, Austin, Kelly, Evelyn, and little Brian. I hope Brian grows up to be different from them. But I don't regret my decision. I learned that family isn't about blood or legal papers. It's about love. Real love. Not the kind that comes with a price tag.